Okay, so hello everybody. I'm here with the wonderful Alana Bennett, who is an amazingly generous lady who has donated her book to the Lockdown Library. So the Lockdown Library is an initiative where you can download a document and get access to amazing free books, and we have lots and lots of titles in there. And Alana, thank you so much for generously offering your book. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. All the better to be here, Beck.
Thanks so much. Now, you are an expert and you are about elevating leaders in finance. And I also know, because I've known you for a little while now, that you like to talk about results beyond numbers in finance. So talk to me about what that means.
So it's interesting because it's something that's almost recrystallized or re-emerged over the last few weeks, where I'm speaking to a lot of my clients, and they're saying, I'm not usually a finance person, or I'm not your typical accountants person. And I think what that speaks to is there's a group of people in finance out there who want to deliver more. So for them, going to work is not about the spreadsheets, it's not about the results, it's not about, profit and all the rest of it. There's something more. And I suppose for me, results beyond the numbers is really, you are more than a bean counter. It is more than spreadsheets, and I want to help you figure out what that is for you, because once you've identified what that is, the world is your oyster.
Yeah, and sometimes we just get stuck in doing the technical work, and there actually is more to do than just that. Yeah, fantastic. And so your book Meaning Matters, what was the inspiration for that? Why did you write that book?
Well, if I'm really honest with you, because we have known each other for a little while, as you do, I write weekly articles, and I've been doing that for years. And I literally woke up one morning and went, "Shame on you, Alana! You write too much not to have a book." Yeah. I basically picked a date. Us accountants like deadlines. I went, okay, when's my next conference? Boom, done. Okay, you need to write a book. So that was the impetus to actually getting it down on paper. When I was really trying to articulate what the book needed to be about, I reflected on the real challenges that my clients were having. And as you say, technical people, we're so good at the task, we're so good at the milestone. But what I found is that once my clients had met the milestone, had completed the task, there was this lull. And it was like a bit of I'm not really sure what to do now. My next deadline's not for 2 months or what have you. And so I'm not sure if you've read the book, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes, I have. In fact, I think you recommended it to me and I read it and fell in love straight away.
So he talks about this existential vacuum, which is exactly that lull. After a deadline, after winning something big, you sort of go into this lull. So he talks about this existential vacuum, which basically, and the antidote to that is to create meaning. And so that sort of really resonated with me, because that in effect was what I was doing with my clients at those moments, was going, well, we need to create meaning out of this lull. And actually what that identified for me was actually the gap was not necessarily in the lull in and of itself. The gap was bigger. And it was because these people, my clients, had not taken the time to articulate what their big purpose was. And so was unable to connect the dots, and you'd know this being a systems expert, connect the dots between all of these disparate tasks and milestones. To what end? And so for me, that was a natural, I suppose, unique element to this book, that I wanted to say, you know what, this stuff really matters. Purpose is an imperative. It's not an indulgence. And it can really elevate your performance.
And so what sorts of benefits are people seeing once they get that purpose and move away from just the numbers?
So there's many different benefits. In fact, the first benefit is once we sort of figure out what's going on with their careers and they say, oh, I get it. It's that relief. This feeling of whatever it might be, dissatisfaction, resentment, perhaps not feeling worthy or valued, just a general lull. We like to go on to the next thing, but when there is no next thing, it can make you start to doubt yourself and start you start to lose confidence. And I think once they've recognized that the gap is actually the bigger purpose gap, they go, all right, this is good. You know, awareness is always very validating. And so then when we start to do the work of purpose, it is confronting. I had a conversation with a client this morning, and she said, you know, it is confronting, but it is impactful, you know. And so I think out of that, once you've sort of ridden that wave of, yes, I'm committed to doing the work and figuring out what it is, and also knowing that it's not a one-stop shop, it's an evolution, so you don't need to get it right first time. Then emerges a sense of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, there's a sense of confidence that, you know what, this is my purpose and this is the lens that I'm going to approach everything, and I'm far better for it. And so I think, you know, a lot of clients come to me and go, I need confidence. And I go, well, you can't really teach confidence, but I can help you. I can help it emerge through this angle. And so there's certainly the confidence, but I think there's also a visibility thing. You know, I think you come with the confidence, people sort of sit up and, you know, are open to the opportunities that it will provide for them.
Yeah. And I know that you've written this book because you specialize in working with people in finance, and you've written this book specifically for people in finance, but it sounds as though it's actually applicable to a much broader audience.
Yeah, I continue to get that feedback. In fact, I had a woman in finance call me and give me that exact feedback. And yes, it is. I suppose for me, women in finance, it's an area that I know, having, you know, been a women leader in finance, I know it's a largely unloved population as well. You know, finance is still such a male-dominated industry, but also has a culture so embedded in the patriarch. And so I felt that this was my opportunity to give them some love, you know, bespoke love. And so through the book, you know, I provide lots of case studies on how it can be applied, and how it has been applied through the case studies of my clients. And I've also written it so that it's a real easy read. You know, I'm not a real smart person, right? So it's easy language. People say that it sounds like I'm speaking, but it's a pick up, put down. You know, it's the book that you just need to have at your desk, and you go, I'm about to go into a really difficult meeting. Let me just pick up and use this, you know, methodology of how to prepare for a difficult conversation. Or, you know, I'm feeling a bit down. I wonder what's going on, or I'm feeling a bit alone. Who else do I need in my power base to support me? It really just, you know, it's almost like I want the benefit of them having me next to them. You know how good it is to have that objective person that has no vested interest in you, but that just provides you with that little, either, you know, the perspective or the injection of energy. You know, I'd really just love for it to be that real simple guide to help women in finance do that.
It's like having a little coach sat next to you on your desk at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're up for it, you know what I mean? It's for those who really want to elevate. And, you know, I've started using the term purpose-led leader in finance. And what's really lovely is I think that's really resonated with a lot of leaders in finance. And gosh, you know the industry very well yourself, Beck. That's not a term that you would have heard 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know, they'd almost be complete opposites.
Yeah. It was almost like to have that vulnerability, that kindness, that purpose was the antithesis of what a good leader was. You should be driven and focused and relentless.
Correct.
I think what I like about your book is, because I see a lot of commonality with a lot of the people that I work with, is that moving from technical skill to that leadership skill is around you know, just wanting it to be a profession, not just a job. And I think that's a mindset shift, and your book sounds certainly as though it's tapping into that audience that want to move from just a job where you go and you do the technical to something that's more aligned with their values and their own purpose.
Yeah, so the other two key elements, because you're spot on, the other two key elements in the book are people. So who are you surrounding yourself with? And, you know, do the relationships help foster and drive you forward in your career? But then there's the presence piece. And I think that's certainly, you know, when you talk about profession, it's this is who I am, this is how I show up, and this is my brand. And my brand is not a, you know, worker bee, it's not a technical expert, it's actually far bigger than that. And, you know, there's such, we talk about compartmentalizing your work and your life and all the rest of it. It's so draining thinking about it that way. I think we just need to step in and own it. And so for me, I think if you say, when you say, oh, I'm not really a leader in finance, or I'm not really a finance person, or I'm not really an accountant, is that how you want to see yourself? Or do you want to see yourself bigger than that and see yourself for the contribution that you're able to make in the finance world? I think that's just such a different mindset shift, but also positions you so well long term.
Yeah. And so what's one thing that people can take away from your book and start doing right now?
So I can start to think about purpose.
Yeah.
It is a long journey. You know, I always say in my online program that I've just released, you can spend 5 minutes on it. You can spend 5 years on it. There are thousands of books out there on purpose, right? I just say start to think about it. Start to ask yourself the question, you know, what is this all about? When I go to work every day and I bury my head in spreadsheets and I talk about profit and, you know, all of those things, what is that actually about? It's usually about helping someone. And so how can they start to ask themselves that question? What's my purpose? Because then we want to do is integrate it. We want to do that purpose integration piece, which happens once you get, you know, through the components of the book, so that we come out feeling really integrated and that it's not two separate things that can't sit side by side. So I just say start to think about it and appreciate that it has a real role to play in elevating your performance at work.
And so tell us about this program, this online program that you've developed. How do people find that?
Great question, because I've not yet started marketing it. It will be on my website. So we're currently halfway through the pilot. Where that spawned from was so I released this book last year. It was in line with the conference, 2 accountants that I was speaking to. And the feedback that I started to get from those who had purchased and read the book was, this is awesome, but it's quite hard to implement. And as I say, because it's quite big and it requires some abstract and lateral thinking and also that person to help you connect the dots. And so I thought, gosh, I think an online program would really benefit with this. And so in a sense that the online program is the implementation guide to the book. So the book is a great first start. It's very practical, full of exercises. But if you want some help implementing it, you don't need the full-blown coaching or what have you. It's a really great thing just to have, you know, whenever you need to watch the 5-minute video. Okay, I get it. This is how I apply it more effectively, and this is how I can implement it straight away. So I really look forward to that going live post-July this year.
Excellent. Oh, fantastic. And so how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you? Tell us your contact details, your website, your LinkedIn.
Yep, so www.elenabennett.com.au, 2 N's, 2 T's, or LinkedIn. You know, I have a bit of a strange name. All of my names have been strange, but for some reason, once I married my husband, I thought Bennett was going to be easy. No, 2 N's, 2 T's. Yeah, so LinkedIn or my website is the best. My contact details are out there. Reach me direct, that's totally fine. But, you know, I'm just so pleased and honoured to be a part of this lockdown library, to be able to get my book out to the world, because I couldn't have my book launch. My book launch was scheduled for March. So this was a really nice way for me to share and share the love. And so I really appreciate you having me as part of the Lockdown Library.
Well, thank you so much for your generosity in donating your book. It's been an amazing initiative, and you'll be the first to know we're looking at version 4 is coming out soon. So even more books. So I love it.
Well done, Beck. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. It's been so good to talk to you. Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Elena.